Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Forbes Middle East welcomes you all to FinRuption in Focus, where the region's leaders, regulators, and end users have all come together today to delve into the disruption, opportunities, and challenges that new technology is bringing to the financial sector. The war on cash and why M-wallets are catching up. Mr. Serdar Nurmammedov, Mr. Alberto Diez, Mr. Pankaj Astana, Dr. Deepak Kalra, Mr. Joseph Mazloom,
Alberto, we can start with the banker and look at the breadth of those services offerings, what this means in the context of a bank that's trying to innovate.
When it comes to kind of war on cash, from a banking perspective, we tend to kind of split it up into a couple of layers before we even come down to M-wallets. The first layer would be we don't want people to even go into stores. So, for example, we are one of the biggest SME banks in the region. So, we work a lot with making sure that our SMEs have the opportunity of being able to set up e-commerce, right? Set up their own websites, sell things online, so that they don't even have to go into the stores. And by doing that, reducing cash. Yeah. Next level under that, we're working with smart point of sales. Similar to some of the fintechs in Europe, looking at how can we do point of sales, literally the machine that SMEs use, cheaper. So we've released a point of sale that is kind of mobile phone size, that 1/3 of cost, which literally means that earlier, if you didn't take card payments, now you can, because it's cheaper, right?
And what are the key trends that you're observing here in this market being imported to the UAE or the broader MENA region?
So let me start with UAE first. I think it's a very exciting market because there is a massive appetite to experiment. And we had some very interesting people speaking about this before us. I heard about, Sonny from Standard Chartered Bank talking about the need to be agile and experiment, and I think that's something we're seeing the banks doing experiment. And Namish had a point that, we should be experimenting for the sake of experimenting on a few things. So yes, there is use case driven innovation, but there's also innovation driven around, let's just try the technology, the 3M or the DuPont way of innovation as it used to be. UAE, we are seeing a lot of all of it. So interestingly, again, if you think about the way Alberto just opened the discussion, you've got government trying a wallet, you've got banks creating their own wallets, you've got private players creating wallets, and you have global fintechs and giants also offering wallets. So it's a very rich and very experimenting environment in UAE right now.
Okay, great. Now I'd like to move to Sardar. So Sardar, with Beam, I'd like you to tell us, to share your vision of payments. You have a rather disruptive view, and how you intend to compete against other initiatives such as EDW that are state sponsored, that have onboarded lots of incumbents and major players in the economy.
So when it comes to payments, let's start with war on cash, or why cash is a problem in the first place. I think that's important to understand. It may be a problem that's for a government, or that we have a vision that we need to eliminate cash and go digital. That's a good, let's say, vision or strategy. But then how do you convince people, or how do you accelerate that to happen? And I think that's, from our experience, you have to solve a problem for someone. So whatever you can promote, whatever you can say doesn't cut it in a way. So the way we look at it is that the one who suffers most from cash economy, or the fact that cash exists, are the retailers, because cash leaves no trace. And when there is no trace, and retail is a business that could be optimized a lot more if everything was, let's say, digitized or every transaction was recorded. The way we look at it is that, and also we need to take the discussion away from just saying how do we get rid of cash into more of a what is a payment. So when you think about what a payment is, and in today's world, there's all payments, marketing, loyalty, these type of things are all, or the entire value chain, they're all converging into one thing. It's becoming one experience.
Dr. Deepak, maybe a bit on the technology side, what are the latest technologies that will empower and that will make all those offerings possible to the customer, to the regular customer?
The technologies behind it is, like, there are many technologies which are running behind this e-wallet and all the other things, like we learned from the previous panel about the blockchain and other things. But if you go behind those technologies, why these technologies are there? We want to go ahead with automation. So we have something called robotic process automation, we have artificial intelligence. Now all those technologies are powered by machine learning. Now the data which is being thrown from e-wallet, which is being thrown from the, like, technically I'll go in for the academic and then the question I will ask from Pankaj, that the data which is being thrown, now from that data a lot of learning can be done. And these learning can infuse efficiencies, and these efficiencies can reduce it can change the paradigm of a bank or a e-wallet company to be people-oriented, to be process-oriented, transform from people-oriented to process-oriented, and ultimately going for click-based. Why to have a RAKBANK? Why to have a Emirates NBD Bank? Why not we have a digital RAKBANK, digital Emirates NBD Bank? Why we need to go to a location, ATM counters, physically go over there when all those technologies are there?